Hi, good morning. So I wanted to talk to you a little bit this morning about some things that are important about what I talk when I talk hope, and the formula that came to me when I was looking at things from a floodlight perspective, as some would call it, rather than a spotlight. When I say that, I'm talking about hope, and the formula that came to me when I have been really focused on some of these principles that have been given to me. And I was listening to an interview that Elon Musk gave a while back about why he's so smart, about what makes him such a genius. And the answer was very simple. Instead of looking at things from an analogy point of view, look at things from the basic principle point of view. And he was talking about the battery. When he was looking at the battery, when he wanted to solve the problem for making a better battery, he went to the basic principles of the science behind the battery, broke it down to the basic elements, and rethought the elements of the battery and how he could make it better. And so they got me thinking about what it is that makes my message so important. And what came to me was the fact that these basic fundamental principles of being a decent human being are very, very basic. Honesty, for instance. Honesty is a behavior that is so vital to being fair and acceptable and non-threatening. When you're honest, then you are not lying. You are not a threat. When you are being honest about whatever it is you have done or whatever you are going to do or about whatever business dealings you're in, whatever you're doing with a person, then they know up front what you're there to do. And when you're not, one of the things that's so um, off about us at this point is the idea that we use truth rather than honesty when we're addressing our fellows. And what I mean by that is you can take facts and you can put together a narrative to tell a story that may or may not be honest, but it may be based on facts that are compiled in a certain way to tell a narrative on one side or the other to gain your advantage. And you may be not being honest about what true the story truly is. And so I apologize. My dog's been giving me a little bit of a fit this morning, wanting to go in and out, whatever. But the difference between truth and honesty is very evident in politicians. And I think that's why politicians are becoming kind of like used car salesmen in our view of them. They will do whatever they have to do to get elected. Whether that's their true intention of what they're going to do when they get elected is up for grabs. No one really knows what a politician is going to do until they're in office. There's nothing more evident than what's happening today. In the campaign for president, This man said he was not going to do this, was not going to do this, not going to do that. Gets in office and does the exact opposite of what he had promised. This is not about a political statement here. What it is using that as an example of the difference between honesty and truth. Manipulating facts to tell a narrative rather than being honest about what it is you plan to do, honesty about what it is you have done, honesty about just life in general. So that's one of the basic principles I think that's important about hope and about getting back to being the human that you were meant to be, is being honest. Attempt to be honest in what it is you're doing. And it's a difficult thing. I have had difficulty with it, as most people do, I think. And so myself and Cheyenne and Don, we're trying to craft these coaching seminars and things that help people to get to where they can sing their song honestly. The other piece of it is the O in the hope, which is omnipotence. And I have used openness and omnipotence interchangeably because, honestly, people have been afraid to address their omnipotence in an open forum. People are afraid to admit that from a spotlight perspective versus a floodlight, versus a floodlight perspective, they're afraid to admit that they have been created in the image of a creator with dominion over their existence, rather than being at the command of a creator where their fate is in the hands of that creator, when they should be saying something along the lines of, I'm in a partnership with my creator who left me with dominion over this planet and over my life in order to be able to be in partnership with my creation, with my dominion over the planet and the things that are here, in order to be able to thrive and prosper and be human. What we have done is we have mutated that omnipotence to a point where we are on the verge of catastrophe. So that's one of the principles that we've gotten away from, and that we have crafted our lives in a way that puts fear of God in us, that puts fear of life in us, when what we really should be doing is embracing our power of life and moving forward with that basic principle in mind, rather than ignoring that great accountability and responsibility. And one of the reasons that I use openness in there interchangeably with omnipotence is because be open about it. Be open about the fact that you are a powerful being. You are a part of the great fabric of existence, and you need to honestly admit that. Honestly do that. Connect with your omnipotence. The next piece of that is the pure love aspect of principles. And this is another one that seems to have been mutated, to have been thought of in a spotlight perspective rather than a floodlight. And I love this guy. I can't remember what his name was, but he did a very insightful speech about floodlight versus spotlight, where spotlight's on you and your ego, floodlight's on your existence with everything around you and in the universe and the whole thing. But the love, the emotional of love, the healing power of love, the inability to hurt, is a principle. When you get down to the basics of humanity, when you get down to the very fundamental principles of being human, purely loving each other with all of our diversities, purely loving our planet and everything about it is a principle that when you get down to the basics of it and start to rethink and start to rebuild, you realize that we have really, really gotten away from that in many ways. And then the last piece of that, which I'll be right back to, I gotta let my dog in because he's gonna bug us to death if I don't let him in. Thank you for being patient with me and my little puppy here. There he is. That's Dakota. Say hi, Dakota. Hi. Okay, get down. And then the next piece of that is your essence in the hope message. Your essence. Your purpose. That which you were created to do here. We have been taught over the millennia that you work, you're born, you get married, you go to work, you die, and whatever. Do you ever really find your purpose? Many of us are still looking for our purpose. And for many, it is simply to do just that. Now, finding your power of essence is very different from doing the daily routines that you do every day. When I give a talk, when I am involved with you and I am talking about what I'm talking about that I know is touching you, I know I'm in my essence. I know I'm in my purpose. Because I feel the power. I feel the love and the honesty and the omnipotence coursing through me with such power that there is no question that I'm doing what I was put here to do. And so, getting down to the very fundamentals, those basic principles, and starting over to rebuild your life is what I'm about. That's what I feel. That's what I think we should be thinking about again. If you have lost your job, if you have lost your family, if you have, or if you're even if you're a really fantastically successful person, but you feel like you have not hit that mark, it's time to look at those things. It's time to honestly assess. It's time to reconnect with your omnipotence. It's time to lovingly embrace the ideas that you are a human being that has a purpose. It's time to find that essence of you that will give you that power. Elon Musk has found those things, and many others have as well. So my point to you is, get in touch with us, myself, Cheyenne. You know, we're embarking on a revolutionary way of looking at living that is going to change a lot of minds about how we're moving. We're on the verge of some things here in our country, for example, that may or may not be good for our country, but it will certainly teach some valuable lessons to us as people. You can reach me at 757-696-3341, or you can contact me at rickmabe@livinghopeinstitute.org. Cheyenne, Dawn, and I are working to start a new way of thinking about finding your path, making a living, and creating your heaven on earth. It's outside the box, but it's not outside the basic fundamentals of being a human. We don't want to leverage or to follow the thinking of what's not working. History is repeating itself right now in so many different ways. We are not following the path of historical failures that is beginning to unfold before us. We're taking a different path, and we're looking for others who want to follow that path and help us to learn another path. And the only way to do that is to get back to these basics and then to rebuild our way of thinking about how to honestly assess where we are, where we've been, where we're going. To reconnect with that power of creation within us that it was bestowed upon us in our creation. To do what's right for creation and for this whole matrix that we live within. Perhaps it's not so important to be on the spotlight as much to be on the floodlight of all of existence and what we're thinking about doing. I believe that's what our country is about. This United States, for instance, is the only country in the world where diversity is the bedrock of our existence. This whole idea that we are some kind of white Anglo only way thing is just not true. It's a sickening thought to think that people are actually believing this rhetoric that's being put out there, this propaganda that's being put out there that says that America is all about white racism and all this kind of crap. Our country was not founded on that. Our country is the only one in the world that has the Constitution that guarantees the right of expression, of right of speech, the right of religion, equality for all races. And you go to these other countries and that's not the case. There's people out there who talk about this all the time, but for some reason it's not being heard, and we are once again being segregated out. Only this time it's reverse racism against white people, which is pretty ironic, I think. We have to remember, and I know I'm going off on a little bit of a tangent here in the honesty perspective here, but honestly speaking, it was white people who fought the Civil War primarily to change and to evolve our country to civil rights. Because without that, we may still have this awful thing with slaves and stuff. But it was the white people who started the Civil War. White people fighting against white people to free the slaves. I'm not saying that there's, that there weren't some terrible things that happened, I'm certainly not going to take the guilt for it, but I'm also very proud of the fact that we have been able to evolve as a country to where we are the freest country in the world. And these people that are now in Congress, honestly, should not be in Congress. The people who are saying that we are an inherently racist country have obviously not been around the world like I have in the United States Navy and seen the true racism and the true anti-Semitism and the true anti-religion countries that others have gone to see the true racism that's in the world. And believe it or not, if we continue to go in the direction we're going right now, we will be no better than the rest of those countries around the world. So, honestly speaking, we need to wake up as Americans and stop what's happening. So, anyway, won't go any further on that discussion, but listen, get with us. Let's get back to the principles of who you are. We have processes and things that we have been working on to help you to assess where you need to be and how you can contribute to the fabric of existence with your essence, and to really, really get back to the fundamentals and build up from there. Build up to where you want to be, where you should be. And we do it quietly. We help you to start, plan, and get to where you can be. We have business ideas. We have new ways of living ideas. We have the Hope Institute ideas. So come join us. Contact me, Rick Mave at livinghopeinstitute.org. Give me a call, 757-696-3341. Start the revolution from within by going back to the basic principles. Thanks.